Welcome to the Inside Out Money Podcast.
Can't even recognize this place. Too many pieces of our past mistakes.
Hi, I'm Maggie, and I believe real change starts from the inside out. So let's work together to improve our money and our lives from the inside out. We will explore all things money and our relationship with it. Join me each week with a rotating set of co-hosts, friends, and interviews. Let's jump in.
It's time, we going round and round and round and round and round.
Hey guys, what's up? Kate is the best and she's so amazing.
Okay. Hi. You can say hi to me, okay?
Hi.
Wait. We're going to restart that, okay? So get the giggles out.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi. No, redo it.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you who that hi was from in a second. But first, welcome to Inside Out Money. This is a personal finance podcast focused on redefining wealth from the inside out. Every week, I speak with a rotating set of co-hosts about a different financial topic to help you improve your financial mindset and tactics. And today, we do not have one of our usual co-hosts here. We actually have my 13-year-old daughter, Kate. Kate, welcome to the podcast. And she is going to co-host this podcast today with us. Kate, what are we going to be talking about?
Social media and how it impacts our consumer choices.
I love it. And I will say, I just want people to know, so this episode was actually not my idea. Kate was in here the other day and was like trying to podcast and then you like said you wanted to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, well, let's come up with an episode together. And I was like, I want to do one that makes sense for us to do together. And you know a lot about social media.
Yeah.
And I know a lot about money. And you're a kid. So what better topic to discuss than social media, all of the advertising that is throughout it, and how it is impacting not just our kids' purchase decisions, but adults also. You excited to do this, Kate?
Yeah.
Okay. So I will say one thing I'm not going to talk about on this episode because it's just not my area of expertise and it's not the purpose of this podcast, but we're not really going to get into social media usage for kids or teens and whether that's good or bad and what sort of parameters parents can put in place, right? That's a very unique topic and there's already a lot of great content out there on it. But we are going to talk about the impact and influence that our kids and adults being on social media has on our spending and on our consumer choices. So we're going to get a bit into some of the different tactics that are being used on us on social media. And then we're going to finish with a very actionable discussion on how to combat the influence of social media on our spending habits. And I reference kids a lot, but like I fall prey to a lot of the same stuff that you experience, Kate. Do you know that? Do you know, like I also get sucked in by an Instagram ad. And next thing I know, I've purchased something where I'm like, why did I do this?
Yeah, me too.
Hey, you know those like weird orbs that were like broken that we were trying to use at Christmas? Those like flying orb things?
Oh, yeah.
Those were an impulse Instagram ad.
That was so annoying.
Yeah, they seemed like they were going to be super cool for a minute and then they just like were broken and quit working. And now I'm dealing with customer service that is definitely in China and has been incredibly difficult to deal with. And they like don't even work. And I spent like, it was like $30, but it was still... It's annoying, and I'm almost like more annoyed at myself than the company because I fell prey to it. Okay, we're going to run through these tactics that I really want everyone to be aware of just so that we know like what's happening because I do think awareness is one of the first things. So,
yes. So I think adults need to be aware of letting your kid on social media and that there's a whole decision that comes with that, but you're also opening them up to be advertised to.
Yeah, it is wrought with advertising. So I asked Kate this question earlier today. I was shocked by the answer. Kate, how many ads do you see when you are on social media?
On TikTok, about every 2 scrolls, you get a TikTok shop ad.
So So you
Every
scroll,
couple scrolls.
That's
yeah.
crazy. And then she showed it to me and I was like, wow, like that's just more than I realized. Cause I'm used to like, I watch a decent amount of YouTube videos and I'm used to like every couple minutes an ad plays, but I was shocked. And even on Instagram, I don't feel like it's like every 2 reels that I see an ad.
No,
on
it's
Instagram.
not. On
Yeah.
Instagram, it's different.
It's less often.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're seeing a lot of ads when you're on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me not like TikTok. Why don't we delete TikTok from your phone right now?
I don't know. I just don't want to.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm positive. Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, maybe by the end of this, you'll want to. Companies spend a lot of money advertising on social media. Kate, tell us a little bit about how much they spend.
Social media advertising has seen tremendous growth over the past few years. As of 2024, global social media advertising spending is estimated to reach about 234.14 billion USD.
That's up 98 billion since 2019. So that's crazy that like last year companies spent $234 billion on advertising. And that's a 140% increase in the last 5 years. Wait, does that number like mean anything to you?
Yeah, it's a really big number.
It is important to understand this so that we can be more intentional and mindful consumers and teach our kids to do the same. The other thing that's important to understand is that these social media platforms are leveraging algorithms that they've put a massive amount of R&D and money into to build to show you targeted content. And they're really good. Like I know for me, I see things, particularly on Instagram, where I'm like, wow, that's like they know me.
Yeah, it's like exactly what I need.
Yeah, like right what I need right now. Yeah, I like it. You can't see, but Kate just put need in quotes because she's used to me saying like, well, you don't need that. You want that.
In addition to this, influencers are paid to endorse products, and it significantly drives purchasing decisions. Kids don't often realize it's a paid influencer talking about something.
Scott Galloway just wrote a whole email that's all about how people are the new brands. Like it's not even like brands are marketing to you. People, also known as influencers, are marketing to you. Kate, when you see stuff marketed and you see like people that are famous that you know talking about products, like did you realize initially that those are paid?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that change the way you view it?
Yes. I mean, it makes it feel like they're more like biased to the fact that the product is good.
Like they may not really like it.
Yeah, except like they're getting paid.
Right.
So
it does make you think a little more critically about
Yeah.
whether you... Okay.
also, influencers often set an unrealistic view on how people should look, dress, and feel. So that influence can make things look better than they really are.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kate. That's one that I wasn't even initially thinking about. But yeah, I mean, the point of influencers are, you know, they're getting paid to show you that product and, you know, that thing about their lifestyle. But often they're just showing you, you know, like it's like with rose-colored glasses on, you know, it's not realistic that you really, you know, need that thing or, you know, are going to have that sort of, it's very,
Fake.
yeah, fake. Exactly.
And like an example of this is an ad for like Bloom, you could say, or like ashwagandha pills, you know what I'm talking about? They often show like a girl who's super like skinny and beautiful and she has like clear skin, but she was probably already like that when she started advertising them,
Yeah.
you know? Like
Yeah.
that's just also like there's filters and stuff
Yeah.
like that put on there, so they make the product look better than it really is in real life.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's something we'll talk about that when we get to tactics. That's something where you want to be able to think critically about that and realize exactly what you just said. So I'm actually really impressed that you can say and articulate that, Kate. That's awesome.
Stop buying stupid
Can I leave that in?
No, you cannot.
I would love to.
Please don't.
So a couple of cool stats I saw recently. 80% of consumers report that a friend's social media post influences their buying decision, which I think just highlights the power of this because the friend, I'd say, often is an influencer. Another cool stat is, you know, millennials and Gen Z are 51% more likely to make impulse purchases online compared to older generations. But again, I'll admit, I don't even know if I'm considered an older generation yet, but I am very susceptible and have to like stop myself from seeing an Instagram ad where I'm like, wow, they really know me and I need this. Quote, need, don't need, want. And then all of a sudden I'm like clicking through, it's way too easy. And so we've got a lot of thoughts on, you know, how you can combat this, but it's just something to be aware of. Another thing that I forget about, because they don't do as much of this to adults as they do to kids. You're always telling me about how, like, you saw something and you're going to win something if you do something. Like, there's a lot of, like, sweepstakes and challenges and things that are, I think, particularly marketed to kids on social media.
So I've gotten ads on social media where it basically says that if you complete these offers and enter your name and stuff, then you can get this, like, crazy amount of money to, like, a store, like $750.
To, like, Brandy Melville or
Yeah,
some
or like
store.
Hollister.
Yeah.
Like something like that.
Do you click through on them sometimes?
Yes.
Because you think you want to win this gift card.
Yeah, and I see all these comments that are like, this is so easy, me and my sister did it. But I tried it, and they're all fake. Because I saw a ton of real comments, or other comments, that said, like, this did not work at all. They're just stealing your information. Like, don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, that is an important one. You really do want to teach your kids to not give out their information if they're online. I know we've talked about that before. Like, even your email, right? Your email, your phone number, your name, your age, any of that. You don't want to. And most of these things are very clickbaity.
Also, like, touching again on, like, the comments thing, it's important to not just look at, like, the top 3 comments, because those are obviously going to be either fake or, like, unrealistic. And if you scroll down a little bit lower, you'll see all of these comments that are like, this doesn't work at all. It just stole my
really?
information. Yeah. So it's important to, like, dig deeper on, like, reviews and stuff like that, because oftentimes there are a lot of fake reviews.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, there's a lot of fake and paid for reviews, which basically are fake reviews. So
Yeah. Or, like, the company that created this scam can, like, create other accounts and comment on these videos.
yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so ultimately, all of these things we're talking about, and there's way more than we're even going to cover here, they can lead to very impulsive spending and a lot of susceptibility to scams or misleading information, like Kate was just giving examples of. We're about to transition to talking about some tactics that can be helpful to combat the influence of social media on our spending habits. But before we get to that, Kate, do you have a quick request for everybody?
Yes, I do. And I understand we are talking about ads and influences, but we want to get to 200 reviews by our 100th episode. So if you can kindly go into the review section and leave a review for this podcast, it would be appreciated.
Thank you. So for the Inside Out Money podcast, Kate's saying go leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app. It's super helpful. And yeah, Kate will be really happy.
If you don't have anything good to say, don't say it at all.
Oh, what a nice rule. Who taught you that?
Oh my god, half of the planet says that.
Oh, okay. So not me. So one of the things I always want to focus on is not just the problem, but what is the solution? So we've just talked about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. This is a solution that is more of an art than a science, and we're going to share some different tactics and ideas for helping to combat this. I think the first one is just education. It is teaching your kids about everything we just talked about the very persuasive nature of ads and influencers and literally everything we just said. Let them listen to this episode if they want to. There's some different, movies and documentaries and things that are out there too. Explain to them how ads are designed to make products look appealing and how influencers are being paid. It is not their personal opinion. They're being paid to talk kindly about that product. And I just think being more mindful and talking to your kids about this stuff is like half the battle. Kate, I know at times you will come and like tell me about something that's some amazing price and that you want. And I feel like I'm sometimes kind of negative and I'm like telling you why it's not real or why it's a scam or whatever. Like, but is that helpful? Like, does that help to teach you about it?
Yes, it does. And I mean, there are exceptions to that.
Yeah, that's true. Some stuff is legit. Along with education is just open communication. So again, maintaining open dialogue with your kids about their online experiences. If you're going to let your kids be online, be on social media, like you got to have open communication. You have to make sure you feel comfortable that your kids are going to come to you if they experience any content that they don't understand or that seems inappropriate, and help them understand the difference between genuine recommendations and what's a paid promotion. And all of these kind of bait and switch things. Like, Kate, you're always talking about, what's the jewelry company?
Every Jewels.
And you're always like, oh, this is only like $3 or just crazy prices.
Yeah, so basically they set their price, like they show the little like less noticeable price point, and then they show like a really bright red like $5, and then the other one's like $60, and it's like, we're 90% off right now. Buy this, even though it was never $60 to begin with.
Yeah, they made up the starting price, right?
And then another thing is that it'll say like 1 more hour to purchase this until the sale ends, but then it's been an hour and you go back onto the site.
Well, you've come
And
to me
it's still
before
going.
saying like, oh no, we have to do this in the next hour. And I'm like, I guarantee you that'll still be the price tomorrow.
And then the next hour it says one more hour to purchase this. Just every time you close and open the website, it says that.
And some of the, I'm not even going to get into this in detail, but some of those tactics are actually illegal. Like there are advertising laws and regulations governed by the FTC that those companies are not necessarily following, but they're also really hard to enforce and monitor. And so companies get away with a lot of things like that. But it helps when I tell you that stuff and then you realize how this stuff works. So I think you are a much more discerning customer because when you tell me stuff, I then tell you what's happening with it. So talk to your kids is the point.
Also, it is important to set a good example for your kids and to make sure that they know that, like, because your kids do what they see you doing. So it's important that, like, you're not doing things like that.
Yeah. Do you think I set a good example for you?
No.
What do you mean?
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
But what's an example of like what you mean?
Like
Of
parents setting a bad example?
Yeah, like what would be a bad example?
Parents going on a site, seeing this dress, and then the mom...
Oh, so you mean if you saw me constantly buying impulsively, like you would think that that's okay and normal and we should all be doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Exactly.
Okay, so moving on, similar to what we just talked about with education and open communication is teaching kids to think critically. So we just gave some examples where, Kate, I think you've done a fantastic job thinking critically and making more informed purchase decisions. But like encourage your kids to question what they see online and don't assume that it's true, right? And I don't want you to like raise kids that don't believe anything, but I think it is a normal, healthy behavior to teach your kids to think critically and understand how advertising and marketing works, because I've said this in a bunch of different episodes before, but there are companies that they have, massive amounts of people and money going into trying to convince you to buy stuff. And your job as an adult and a kid is to try to be a more discerning, intentional consumer. And the other thing is, you know what? Like when you ask me for stuff sometimes, Kate, what do I say?
Sleep on it.
That too, we'll come back to that. What else do I sometimes say?
No.
Yes, I say no all the time. And so just a reminder to everyone out there, you can say no to your children. You can and you should. Kids' brains and even teenagers, they are still developing. Your job as a parent is to set limits and boundaries for them and to teach them how this stuff works. And so I know it sometimes feels bad to tell your kids no, but think of it as you are doing a good thing for your kids when you tell them no. Does no feel good when I tell you no?
No.
But has it taught you things? Like, do you realize that when I say no,
There's a reason behind it?
Well, no, I was more thinking like an hour later, you're still fine.
Yeah.
When I tell you no, does it an hour later, a day later, are you still like being real sad about that no, or have you forgotten about it and moved on to something else?
I mean, it really depends on the item and the price
Yeah.
and things like that.
And if you're still thinking about something days later or weeks later, that's often when we rediscuss it, right?
Yes.
But like 90% of the things you ask me about, you forget about the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that in a minute. That's one of the best tactics for kids and adults.
Okay, one tactic that works for me is setting a price. Like, if this dress is over $30, I'm not going to buy it. Setting how much money you're willing to spend on that item.
Okay, so like when you see somebody showing a dress before you've clicked through.
Yeah, you say like, if this is under $20, I'll buy it because I like how it looks and I can picture myself wearing it. But if it's over $20, then I'm not going to buy it because it's over my price range.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. I like it. Okay, before we share what is my favorite tip by far, I want to share one that I just thought of today when you and I were at the orthodontist, Kate. And what was the app you were playing?
Perfect Tidy.
Okay. Well, you got me with like an organization. You were like, oh, it's an organization app. You just like move things around and match things.
I mean it is. I wasn't lying.
Yeah, I know, but you know my love language. So Kate and I are talking about all these, like when you play all these free games and apps, which you have, a decent amount
Yeah,
of.
I have a lot of.
Like,
I don't have any apps
that are paid,
bought.
really. Yeah.
No, I don't.
So like Blockbuster is really, is that what it's called?
Block Blast.
Block Blast, sorry. I was thinking of Blockbuster from when I was a kid. Block Blast is very popular right now. It's kind of like a Tetris style game, but a little bit different. It's full of ads. And
Yeah.
And the ads are just to other games and like things to buy and all this stuff. And it's very annoying personally. But I was trying to tell Kate, I was like, God, I would actually just pay for a version of Block Blast for you if it was like a one-time payment where you don't see all these ads, because it actually would be like a better experience for you and cheaper for me and you because you're not constantly being marketed to. And so this Perfect Tidy app that Kate's been playing, which again, like seems like a healthy thing for you to engage with. I'd rather you be on that than social media. Had a paid version. It was one time. It was two versions. One was the VIP, and it was like $9.99 lifetime access. And it's like kind of a cool app, and you're enjoying it. And I was like, you know what? I would rather pay $10 once for a mildly educational game than have you constantly marketed to while you're doing this activity. And so that to me is one tactic of like, if there is an app that your child enjoys that is a thoughtful, intentional thing they're going to keep using, looking to see if there's a paid version. Because I know they say like nothing in life is free. Every time your kid gets some free app and they're like, oh, don't worry, it's free, they're being marketed to even more because that's how that app is being funded if it is a free app. One of the best tips ever. What did you say earlier when I asked you about what I often say when you ask for something, Kate?
Sleep on it?
Yes. So one of the best tips I will ever share for all of this of like being marketed to via social media is to put some space and time between the impulse and the decision. This is proven to work in so many different ways. And we've talked about this in a lot of different episodes. By the way, we have a ton of episodes that are on related topics about helping you spend less money. Liz and I did one recently on episode 85, Trick Yourself into Spending Less Money, and we talk about the same concept. I'll put a link in the show notes to a bunch of episodes that are all around, predatory marketing tactics and scams, how to spot and avoid them, transforming your intentions into actions, being more intentional with your spending, why we spend the way we spend, and then some other old Friends on Fire ones around kids spending. But the best tactic is to put a barrier between the impulse and the decision. And this could be like, sometimes I'll tell Kate, like, sleep on it. If you are still as excited about this tomorrow as you are right now, I'm not saying we'll get it, but we can talk about it. But like when she comes to me just out of nowhere and is like, I need this. If you ever throw in TikTok shop, or it's only $2 or 10 cents or some like ridiculously low price, I'm always like, yeah, it sounds real sketchy. I would rather actually pay like a reasonable value for something and you get a good quality product.
Just to be clear, everything I bought off of TikTok Shop that is under $5, well, I have had like $8 shipping on it, but I bought like a 10-cent duck off TikTok Shop, like a little stuffed animal. It was like a goose. It's good quality. I mean, it probably has like cancer-causing chemicals in it, but it's good quality.
Yeah, good quality is relative, but you're right.
Well, it's not falling apart.
I know, so. You're right. It's still a goose, right?
Yeah. However, I did buy this heatless curling rod set. You can look it up. It's don't buy it. Don't buy it though.
Okay.
And I got it off TikTok Shop for I think like $2. $2.64. I paid like $4 in shipping.
It was only okay. Well, by the way, that is one of the tactics. Is the price looks really low and they charge you for shipping, which is fine. That's fair. They have to ship stuff.
The only reason I bought those heatless curling rods was because the shipping was under $5, and normally the shipping is like $8. So I bought it for I think $6 and something. And yeah, I bought it and it came, and every like the actual like rod is fine, the scrunchies that come with it are fine, but the claw clip was like broken, so I had to throw it away.
Yeah. And you could try to deal with customer service. I'm not sure what that I actually would encourage you to deal with customer service.
I honestly just didn't even think it was worth it because it was like $6.
But let's get back on the point, because that what do you call it? A
heatless curling rod.
Heatless curling rod. That's a good example, because that was one that you've mentioned like a ton of times. So you thought about it before you ordered it. It was not really an impulse purchase, because you've been talking about that for like a year.
Yeah, I've wanted it since like 6th grade.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Over a year. So there is something to be said where, like, if you still want something that bad many, days, weeks, or months later, like, then thoughtfully and intentionally buy that thing, right? But just back to the tip we're talking about here is put a barrier between the impulse and the decision. And it could be a number of days. There's some people that do like the 72-hour rule, which is about 3 days or exactly 3 days. And even when you dump stuff in your Amazon cart, like, don't allow yourself to buy it right away. Just say, okay, I'll leave it in my Amazon cart. And if I still want it, 2 weeks from now, then I can, go back and look at that cart and see if I feel like I still have the same urge. But half the time, those impulses go away. I mean, I've ordered like those little flying orb things I ordered for you guys for Christmas that came after Christmas. They came like a month later. I forgot I even ordered them. I like saw them on one night, was like, oh guys, those look so much fun. We're going to play with those. They're going to be such a blast. And then they arrived like a month later and I was like, what is this? I just forgot I ordered it. So I wouldn't even have reordered it had I thought about it a week later. I think if you can stop yourself from having the initial impulse and put a barrier, which is time, in there, that can cut down on a lot of things. And the adult needs to do that, but the adult also needs to tell their kid, we will never make an impulse decision. It's easy for you to tell your kid that because your kid often doesn't have a way to make purchases directly themselves. Mm-hmm. So they need you to help. So you can force that barrier in between the impulse and the decision on your child. And then the catch is you can't force it on yourself. You have to have some level of, discipline and wait. But I've heard, we Greg and I were just talking about on a recent episode, the rule of like removing all your credit cards from these apps so that you have to like walk across the house and physically get your credit card and type in your credit card information.
Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Do you want to walk across the house just for this item that you want to buy?
And there are some things where it would make me think twice, which is kind of crazy just how impulsive we are about making certain decisions.
One extra thing about TikTok Shop ads is that they do pop up very frequently, except every time you can just scroll. Like, whenever I see an ad, I just scroll because I don't want to see it. So, like, it doesn't require you to watch the ad. You can just scroll from it.
That's a great point. You can get in the habit, like it sounds like you have, of saying, I don't even want to watch this. I'm just going to go right past it.
I mean, if I see something where I'm like, okay, I've been wanting this, so I'm going to watch it. But or just go straight to the link.
But that's a good habit to get into, is just scroll right past it. Another final tip actually is, I do think when you see these different products that are being marketed, similar to how Kate was saying, scroll down and read some of the real comments, you also can do independent research. So like, get out of social media, go search for that thing and read some reviews on that item. And then you can start to get a better sense of whether it's really the quality that, they claim it's going to be or whatever it might be. But definitely don't make the decision right then to buy it just because you saw somebody influencing you and, doing a paid endorsement for the product. Okay, we're going to do a bonus round with you, Kate, where I'm going to ask you some questions, okay?
Okay.
So I'm just going to ask you some money questions to wrap this up. Okay, Kate, what motivates you to make?
Mainly just so I can hang out and eat with my friends and so I can buy clothes for myself.
Okay. Is there anything else that motivates you to want to, make money? Like, what do you need money for other than those things?
Also, having, extra money, if you know what I mean. Extra money that I don't necessarily need. It gives me, leeway, you know what I mean? So I can, so that then, if I'm buying something and I have, $2 in my Apple Wallet, but I need $3, I can have some extra money in there. So I can call you and be like, hey, can you add, $1 into my Apple Pay?
Yeah.
And then I'll be able to buy that.
You just like the feeling of having some extra money in your account?
Yes.
Yeah. What motivates you to save money?
Because I had to work for it.
Okay.
I mean, most times I have to work for my money. I don't just get handed money.
What about
in a way I do.
But when you get money for you get money for Christmas or you get money for your birthday, what motivates you to want to put it in the bank versus spend it right away?
The reason I like to put it in my savings or in my investment account is because I can always take it out and spend it. But putting it in my Apple Pay gives me access to the money. So I don't have to call you to be like, hey, can I have some money?
Yeah.
And so then you can't say no because I'm already at Walgreens and I'm already spending this $30 on something.
Yeah. So you just I'm going to rephrasing what I'm hearing you say, but you like having the autonomy to make those decisions in the future.
Yeah.
I think you're verbalizing it differently than an adult might, Kate, but I think it's interesting what you're saying because it kind of sounds like, you're talking about saving money so that you have options and autonomy in the future for whatever you might want. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is what most adults are doing when they have an emergency fund or a sinking fund for something they're saving up for.
Another thing is that I honestly just love the buildup of, like, progress. So, like, seeing the money slowly build up in my savings gives me, like, it kind of, like, motivates me. Because, like, that extra money can be used for so many things, whether they're, like, important or unimportant.
Yeah, just whatever you want in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, we had a fun conversation this morning that I thought was interesting. So one of the things that I've kind of been like harping on you about this year, among many things, but one thing is that you spend too much money at Walgreens. They can walk there with their friends. It's one of the like neighborhood hangouts, and they like to buy candy and just stuff there. And I think Walgreens is overpriced, but it's like a walkable neighborhood experience and they like it. I asked Kate this morning when we were like going to the orthodontist, I said, how much do you think you spent at Walgreens this past year in 2024 in candy? And we were kind of guessing amounts. Then I was like, I think you can look in Apple Pay and see it. And you looked it up. It only had like 7 or 8 months of your spend in there.
Yeah.
But tell me what you saw and how you felt when you saw it.
I can't remember. I'm going to open my wallet.
So we use Apple Wallet with the kids and we really like it. We can send them money. They can use it like a credit card places.
And also, I don't have access to my savings account, so I can't spend money through that savings account. And there's too much money.
Yeah, she shouldn't have direct access. Yeah, she has. All the kids have to come to one of us to get access to the money in their savings account.
So, at Walgreens,
And while she's looking that up, I would say 95% of what she spends money on at Walgreens is candy or food.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, since April 15th, 2024, I have spent about $200 at Walgreens.
And how did you feel? Like, was that more or less than you thought?
That was less than I thought.
When you saw the $200 amount, how did you feel? Like, did you feel good about that? Are you like happy you spent $200 on candy at Walgreens in the past 8 months? Or tell me.
I mean, I'm not necessarily happy about it, but there's nothing I can do at this point, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Well, do you...
Well, I can stop spending as much
Well, yeah,
money.
that's my point. Does it make you want to think differently in the future?
Yes.
Okay. I agree on, like, you don't need to dwell on the past, but what's cool about that is, like, you know, Greg and I are always talking about how much we get out of expense tracking and how important of an exercise we think it is. And that's a version of expense tracking of like you going back and looking at how much you've spent at Walgreens and seeing like, oh, wow, that's like $200 that I could instead have in my savings account.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you think in 2025 you'll spend less money at Walgreens?
Well, yes. The main reason is that I don't really go as often anymore, but yes, I do think I definitely recently have been paying more attention to how much I'm paying for stuff.
Okay. And you've started some babysitting recently too. Like you earned like $85 the other night babysitting. When you earn that money yourself, do you feel more responsible and like careful of how you want to spend it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of kids and teens my age are also guilty of this, but like spending our parents' money just isn't the same as spending our own money because we didn't have to work for our parents' money. Our parents worked for that money. So we would rather spend that than our own money. Yeah. Naturally. I mean, I'm sure you're thinking the same thing. Like you would way rather spend your mom's money than spend your own money. So
yeah, no, I actually really like the way you articulated that. That was very well said. Okay, is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this episode up, Kate?
I don't think so.
Okay, so social media spending and like you feel like you're more equipped to spend less based on all the ads you're marketed to on social media?
Yes, I definitely do feel more educated on the tactics and like truthfulness of social media ads.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, you're going to be a more discerning customer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining your first co-host podcast gig.
Thanks for having me.
Do you think you want to do this again, Kate?
Yeah, I'd like to be one of the monthly.
Really? You want to be a rotating co-host?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We can get to that. We'll have to see. We'll see what the feedback is from...
She does not want to film another podcast with me.
No, it's not. First off, this is recording, not filming. But it's not that I don't want to do another one with you. It's that what the people didn't see behind the scenes is the amount of giggling and fidgeting that I have had to combat. But I love you so much. You have the same energy I had when I was your age. And I love that you took an interest in this and that when we were in here doing something the other day, you were like, I want to be on the podcast. And like, you really put some effort into like prepping an episode. So I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, thank you guys for listening. Kate and I know your time is limited and valuable. We always appreciate you spending some of it with us. If you have enjoyed this episode, like Kate said earlier in the episode, you can go leave us a written review on Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate it.
Please.
We also encourage you all to share this episode with a friend or family member to encourage ongoing discussions about money. I'd encourage you to share this episode with one of your teenage kids. You can also subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If you have any thoughts or questions, we would love to hear from you, and you can leave us a voicemail or text us at 404-981-3370 or hit us up on Instagram. And hey, you got to send us a text message and let us know if you liked having Kate on the podcast, because she wants to be a rotating co-host, but I got to get enough feedback from people. And we got to get some like specific reviews about having Kate on. So let us know what you think. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye, insiders.
I like that you're calling it insiders.
I know, it's better
Isn't
than
it?
everyone, isn't it?
Better
I
than
can't believe you haven't thought of that yet.
we have actually, but nobody will stick with any closing. Greg won't do a creative closing with me.
He won't?
No. So you're
Dang, he's lame.
I know, you're starting to sound like a better co-host already.
I'm just kidding, Greg. I love you.
Yeah, Greg's pretty great, isn't he?
Yeah, he is pretty great.
He's great. Is he a good stepdad?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Bye, Kate.
Bye.
Bye, insiders.
No.
Inside
Just
out.
stop. You're not funny.
Inside out.
Oh, insiders out.
There you go.